Good evening and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Here we are on day 89 of 2025. And I just have to remind everyone that these videos I post, they're not for watching. They're for listening. Best thing to do, especially if you're not driving, is just close your eyes and listen and let those images come, because that is how your imagination is cultured. And as Einstein used to say, imagination is much more important than knowledge. And how do you culture imagination? Listen to stories. So we left off the story with Sham having been hitched to a wagon that was way too full of wood on a very, very cold, wintry morning. Now you might remember that Agba had eventually found Sham being used by the woodcarter, and the woodcarter was happy to have a slave boy, basically like Agba, to load up the cart. And Agba, while Sham was out delivering wood with the woodcarter, used to help the fishmongers and the women that were selling vegetables in whatever way he could. And so at the end of the day, he always came back with some special treats for Sham. Sundays were his favorite because the woodcarter was away. He wasn't the nicest guy. And on this particular morning, with the cart loaded full of wood, he was out to make money and wasn't worried about Sham at all. The cobblestones were icy. It had sleeted that night, and so the footing was not very secure. As Sham made his way along the level streets, it was okay, even though with each step, his hoof would slip a little bit. Their first stop was a Hotel de Ville, which was up a rather steep incline. And the woodcarter did not hesitate, but drove Sham directly up this hill. Why he went there first is, well, kind of curious. You'd think an intelligent person would try to unload some wood before trying to get up a hill with a cart full of wood. Sham did his best, started up the hill, but his feet, his hooves, already had within them balled up ice. Each step inside his hoof had built up with ice. And so it was almost like he didn't even have hooves at that point. He just had these kind of round, icy feet. It made it ever more difficult to try to get his footing as he went up this hill. He began to slip and make no progress at all, and the woodcarter got angry. That whip cut into Sham's hide and made him bleed. Sham was getting cursed at, and the woodcarter had him back up, and Sham jerked the cart forward and miraculously began to pull it up the hill again. And almost at the top, his forelegs began to slip again, and he just began to claw for traction, but couldn't get it. He was groaning, he was straining, he was sweating. Ice had built up on his feelers, the whiskers on his nose. But he was still sweating. His nostrils If it had been in daylight, you'd have been able to see how red they were because he was working so hard, breathing in and out, trying to get up that hill. Finally, he fell to his knees. He couldn't move any further. The woodcarter whipped him across the top of his head. And then he began to pull on the reins as if he was going to be able to pick Sham up by sheer strength, pulling on that bit that was in his mouth. Now, during this time, early morning as it was, there were a number of people that had stopped to see this commotion that was going on. And we'll stop the story there for now.